Hey everybody, it's your boy, and today's video has what I think is a bit of a white pill for those of us here in the UK, and maybe in other places in Europe, and possibly even in certain states in America. I don't know, it depends on your situation. But I think that the beginning of the end of sanitary fascism is upon us. Now, I don't think it's going to come down crashing and burning like a great big civilization like the Bronze Age collapse or something like that. But I think slowly but surely, from now until maybe even next winter at the latest, they're going to struggle to police this. They're going to struggle to make these mandates, these laws legitimate. Already we've seen in the past year in certain continental European states and in other places in the US, most famously the whole vaccine mandate that Biden was trying to implement have been found to be unconstitutional. In fact, he didn't even manage to get his little law, his mandate, even to the Supreme Court. It was actually the level below them, and he didn't even bother trying to fight that. To me, this seems to suggest that the tide is turning. Now, in this country, because of the Omicron variant that's been discovered in South Africa, which, by the way, is really funny because they skipped two variants. So there should have been a new variant. My ancient Greek alphabet's not amazing. I didn't learn it. It should have been a new variant, NU, but that apparently is French for nude, so apparently we couldn't have that. And then the one after that was Z, spelled XI. Who in the world has a name spelled XI? Oh, Xi Jinping. Yeah, we can't be offending the Chinese communists now, can we? That would just be unscientific. So now we have the Omicron variant, and it has been used as an excuse by many states, mine as well, to initiate vaccine passports or mask mandates. In this country, it's been a mask mandate, which has resulted in continental Europe, which has been going on a lot longer than this, in riots. In fact, the police were even firing live rounds into crowds in Rotterdam, I do believe. And Austria, not to be confused with Australia, which is its own separate issue entirely. I don't know what's going on over there. Austria has been trying to enable a lockdown as a result of rising COVID cases, the Delta variant, I believe. But in my country, it's a mask mandate. It was announced last Sunday, I do believe. Now, the government claims that it's just a precaution, just 3 weeks of a mask mandate to stop the Omicron variant in its tracks. Well, if it's already in the UK, which there were two cases, and they just went overboard, as they tend to do, because this government is weak. The fact that it's already in the country means they're not going to stop it. I mean, they've had 2 years to learn up basic epidemiology. I mean, how exactly is masks going to stop any of these viruses from multiplying? They haven't. But that is besides the point. We have a mask mandate, and yet, on the day that it went into effect, as I got on the bus to go to work, hardly anybody was wearing masks. And as I got to work, as I saw people walking around, very few people were wearing masks indoors, which was encouraging. In fact, not even the bus drivers on public transport, where we are forced to wear masks. We are being told to wear masks in retail environments, in other places, except for pubs and clubs, which is, again, just typical Tory mask mandates. They don't make a whole lot of sense. Either we have a mandate where we're all supposed to wear masks indoors, or we don't. You can't have this halfway house. It just doesn't make sense. Hardly anybody was wearing them. And even the people who were wearing masks, a lot of them were wearing them half-assedly. But what was interesting was that the people who are considered authorities, like, security guards, etc., weren't telling people to wear masks, and they weren't telling people to abide by one-way systems, which suggests to me that people are slowly but surely realising that actually this is probably never going to go away. It's endemic at this point. They quite enjoyed having their freedom returned to them and don't want it to go away. And I think some of them are probably realising, consciously or subconsciously, that the mandate is only a mandate, the laws are only laws if you follow them. And most people are not scared anymore, for the most part, it seems to me. And some of them, if they're abiding by the rules, are doing it belatedly. They're not doing it because they want to. They're just doing it as half-assedly as possible, and nobody's policing each other. Now, I saw on Twitter a screenshot that Scrump Monkey posted where the government and the police were claiming that the police will help retail stores and malls, etc., throughout the country to, police the mandate to force people to wear masks. But that just, to me, suggests they're desperate, because they're not going to be able to police this one, I think. Most people are going to ignore it, and the more that people ignore it, the more others who are wearing masks will realise, well, hang on a sec, why am I wearing one anyway? Nobody else is, and they're not doing anything to stop me, so I'm not going to wear one. It's going to collapse. This is obviously the most positive outcome that we could possibly hope for, that within a week or two, the government realises they've lost because nobody's listening to them, and they quietly withdraw it and hope that something bad happens so they can spring it on us again. But I don't know. I think things are changing. Now, what's going to happen in 2022? Well, I think they're going to continue through the winter of that, from January to February, to try and force people to wear masks for even such things as flus and colds, to protect the NHS or to protect any other, healthcare system that you might have in your country. They're going to try and do that. They're going to try and introduce passports as well. But I think as the virus becomes less and less lethal, which seems to be the pattern, as it goes through its life cycle, I just don't see people really bothering with these laws. They're going to ignore them. And I think if governments try to do things that are really terrible and bad, like trying to force lockdowns, trying to force passports or vaccine mandates, people are going to riot. Now, I don't think they'll necessarily riot here, but in continental Europe, where things happen like that far more frequently, like in France, for example, they're going to have a hell of a lot of trouble. I think really what will kill this is civil disobedience. There will be far too many normal people, far too many red pill people, and even some blue pill people who feel maybe embarrassed that they're wearing a mask when nobody else is, who will then stop wearing the masks. They will be too busy being disobedient and not following these rules that they will find it unenforceable. And if the police try to do such things, if local businesses try to enforce these mandates, these rules, well, they're going to get a lot of pushback because they were getting some already during the first few lockdowns and mandates. They're going to get a hell of a lot more because people are getting more fed up and more vocal. Every time I'm on Twitter and I see news about COVID cases or COVID policy or proposed policy, like from the scientists or from ministers, there is far more backlash against these people than there was months ago, years ago even. Just recently, a scientific advisor, the chief health advisor of this country, was it Jessica Harris? I can't remember her exact name. She said that we should curb unnecessary socialising. I mean, these people, what is it with these people? What is unnecessary socialising? Have these people ever lived? Have they ever had friends, family? Like, it makes you wonder if these people are human, because there's no such thing as unnecessary socialising. And she got huge backlash. Even the government said that's ridiculous and that you can go and talk to whoever you want. They can't even agree amongst themselves. When somebody goes too far, even nowadays, they're saying, you know what, maybe not. Maybe we should allow people to talk. That's crazy, because they know the true extent of the mental health crisis that is coming upon us as a result of the lockdowns. And I think they can't have crazy communists like her, because I can't imagine she's not a part of SAGE, saying stuff like that, potentially causing more mental strain on the country as we already have. What if another variant comes along, because we've been messing with evolution by, not allowing us to get immunity, natural immunity, not getting herd immunity. It could be, as Sticks, Hex and Hammer has said, it could be that a new variant comes along that is actually far more deadlier and will kill, say, 10% of people, because we've been messing. The Omicron variant could become that, but the Omicron variant is very mild. And even the people who discovered it, the scientists there, the doctors in South Africa, are saying that we in Europe and America are just wasting our time panicking, although I don't think most normal people are. The negative side of that is that if a variant like that does come along, if the government tries to find some way of spinning the Omicron variant into being more deadly than it actually is, because they managed to successfully do that with the other variants, then more people, if they fall for the propaganda, which I think less people seem to be nowadays, but again, there are a lot of naive people who thought that once the last mandate ended, there would never be any again. Those types will fall for that propaganda. They will probably panic and call for some kind of measure to be taken that will give all the government it needs as justification for vaccine passports, for mandates, for mandatory vaccinations, which has already been passed in this country for certain medical staff, although it seems to be hitting a roadblock for all NHS staff. All of that is, I guess, proverbially in the wings for the government to enact when they get enough of a I don't know, incentive to do so. So those of us on the side of liberty just need to have a little bit of caution. Yes, it looks optimistic, at least from my view and from other people's views, but I think we need to be prepared for any bumps in the road, anything that might change, that might make things difficult. I think we can't just wait for people to be naturally more annoyed and fed up with it and start ignoring it. I think from the very beginning, we should have been pushing for activism, kind of like what Alinsky does in his book, where he says that you go into businesses and you go into these areas that are segregated, for example, and then you basically have so many people in these businesses that it's impossible to arrest them, and then further down the line, as you keep doing it, the law is basically over. That's really what we should have been doing from the beginning. I hope we start doing that now rather than hoping for people to do it subconsciously. It kind of annoys me that it took so long for people to realise that actually they don't need to follow this law because it's ludicrous. We can't just wait for events to unfold and be passive. We must actively be involved in them and try to create events. That's really what we should be doing. We can't just rest on our laurels and hope that the masses will do it for us, because they hardly ever do. So anyway, that's about it. Yeah, I think there's an optimistic broadcast there in this video, a little bit of a white pill. People are getting more fed up, and that's good. We should make them even more fed up. And we need to make sure that not only are the governments punished in future elections for what they've done to people, but I think private businesses that have been in league with the government, that have been encouraging this totalitarianism, should also be punished. Because why should we support business owners who are proud in their discriminatory practices in regards to people wearing masks, who are disabled, who are vaccinated or not vaccinated, for example? Why should we allow them to get away with that? These people should not have any business, because they've proven that really they don't care about you as a consumer, they don't care about you as a person, and they certainly are more inclined to actually attack your freedom, to take it away for whatever reason. Now, I remember in that little snippet of an article that Scrump posted, there was a business owner who was proud that he was refusing service to people who weren't wearing masks and telling him to go out of his business. That's his right. He can do that. I'm not against that. But that doesn't mean that the consequences should be avoided for him. These businesses should really just be punished for that. Just don't go and buy in those stores. Go to stores that don't discriminate against you wearing or not wearing a mask, or if you're vaccinated or not vaccinated, if you're disabled or not disabled. Because I remember back in the day, there was a store in either the UK or America who was proud that they discriminated against disabled people, the people who wore those horrible necklaces or whatever you call them, that signify that they don't need to wear a mask, they're disabled for whatever reason, and don't allow them in their stores. Those people should be punished. Using the free market, obviously, not using legislation. So anyway, that's the end of the video. I've waffled on far too long in that conclusion. So it's been your boy, and I'll see you all later.